Hello, dear Coach Magazine Global audience. We are here for our 11th tea talk with two amazing coaches from the UK. I will introduce them first and then we will start our conversation. I'll start with Fiona. Fiona Parashar is CEO and founder at Leadership Coaching Limited. She is a B Corp certified, ABP award winner, author of The Balancing Act. Work-life solutions for busy people and a beautiful way to coach positive psychology coaching in nature. Accredited Master Executive Coach, Masters in Positive Psychology, Bachelor is also in Psychology. Co-founder of Tuesday Morning Woman Writing Group with Jackie Holder, and last but not least, Nature Coach. As a meditation and mindfulness teacher, she is doing one-to-one 6 hours in the nature coaching session for individuals' well-being and to get away from busy work life. Jackie has a diverse portfolio as a leadership coach, facilitator on leadership development programs, and an advocate for journaling, expressive writing, and nature wellness for well-being. Jackie is a prolific author with 3 nonfiction titles, 2 nature-themed writing maps, and a self-published Inner and Outer Nature self-discovery card deck. Her work has been featured in numerous anthologies, and she's a regular guest on podcasts and summits. Jackie also writes a monthly column for Psychologies magazine. Jackie describes herself as an urban city walker, an enthusiast of the health and well-being benefits of coaching and engaging with trees and nature inside urban environments. Her favorite resilience tip is heading out for an early morning walk amongst the trees and gifting herself whenever she can 10 precious minutes of early morning journaling before starting her day. Jackie and Fiona are here today together because they are holding a space for writers on Tuesday mornings. Welcome, Jackie and Fiona. We are delighted to have you here today. How are you both? Who would like to go first, Jackie or Fiona? You're both unmuted, my dears. We can't hear you. No, the microphone should be green. Not yet. Um, I'm asking my colleague to unmute you if he can. This happens, don't worry. One time with another coach with a live webinar, it didn't start, then it didn't end. It's okay.
Okay. Can everyone hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Lovely, lovely.
So how are you all?
Really good. I've just come off of leading the final module of a 6 month leadership program, and it was so emotional, so moving. I mean, it's like really perfect for what we're going to be talking about today, but I just feel really full. And yeah, just really grateful for the work that we get to do, which I know we'll be talking a little bit about in a moment.
Yes, thank you so much. And how are you, Fiona?
Yeah, I'm really well as well. I'm having a day battling with this weather because it means I haven't got outside as much as I would have liked, but all good.
Yeah, we are all three here, nature lovers. I'm so glad that I'm doing this with you both. Okay, I'm gonna start with my first question. What inspired you both to become a leadership or executive coach, or whatever the niche you choose? What, uh, which path did you choose? What come across your path first, so you become what you are today?
Do you want to go, Jackie?
Yeah, I don't mind. Yeah, so that's a really good question, and I don't want to take you down too long a road in explaining it, but I would say that, first of all, I had some very good modeling from some people very early on in my career. People who saw my potential probably quite a while before I really recognized the potential that I had. But I was someone who really wanted to make a difference, to help other people. And it felt like all of the roles that I had before, I devoted like over 60% of my time to coaching, have all led to me on building that experience and that confidence to become a coach, because it naturally and organically came out of a lot of the work that I was doing. So I went from, I started off my early career in youth and community work, which so much of that is actually about coaching, because I was running groups in my early 20s. And, you were using coaching skills to really communicate with impact, to help people to recognize their potential and their talent. But it just wasn't called coaching back then. But there was one specific incident that really had an impact on me. It was when I was first qualified as a youth and community worker. Well, I wasn't qualified actually. I was appointed as a full-time youth and community worker, but I didn't have the professional qualification for as a postgraduate. And I was allocated what was called a non-managerial supervisor. And this was somebody who was working in another organization, but was very skilled in managing and leading people. And I ended up having individual one-to-one sessions with this coach. I'll never forget her. She's non-managerial supervisor, but her name was Rose. And she was a coach. She was my first experience of what it was like to be coached. And she helped me transition from being unqualified to becoming qualified within 3 years. And I'll never forget the work that I did with her, and I'll never forget her. And I think that light stayed a light inside of me. And I think as Rose became very much a vehicle, an incubator of my dreams and my desires, I became that for other people. And I think that's fair to say that that set me off on the road of coaching in those very early days. And, it's a long journey, but I won't need to go into all of that here. But I think it was really that led to me really becoming qualified as a coach many, many years later.
Oh, that's a touchy story. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, I don't think I knew about Rose, Jackie. It was lovely for me to hear as well. So yeah, my start was, I guess, my first degree was in psychology, and then I went into business and advertising and media, and I loved the business world, but I was very, very people oriented.
Mm.
And but I also knew that I had this sort of idea I would have a second career, but I thought it would be in the helping profession on the therapy side. And I actually did take weekends to train as a therapist and train in NLP and therapy and hypnotherapy. And then I started to realize that actually I wanted to maintain my business side, and I wanted more. Well, I started to be aware that coaching was coming over from the States. And a bit like Jackie, we were given a coach that was pivotal. I was promoted into a position with a guy that I didn't get on with, and we were polar opposites. And our chairman was an American. He gave us this coach to work with. And we ended up having this amazing sort of collaboration that was very successful. And that made me see the power of coaching. And so when I started to when I had my first child, actually, I started to think I'm going to retrain and move into coaching and integrate the business, the psychology, and the people in a sort of triangle offering. And that's when I made my segue across out of industry and into coaching, which was 23 years ago now.
Wow. Yeah, it's
We're telling our
quite.
age now, aren't we? We're telling our age.
We are.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Fiona, this question is for you. As I introduced you, you are also a meditation and mindfulness teacher. How do you use meditation and mindfulness to help your clients?
Well, in different ways. I mean, I am very interested in those areas for myself, but I will start a coaching session with centering, especially if someone's very agitated. We start our Tuesday morning co-writing group. We always start with a centering and help people to get really mindful about what's going on in their bodies and connecting with their space. So I use it a lot to get people centered and to shift their energy, especially if you're working with an exec in the middle of a busy day or even within a session. And then meditation, I probably use more in a like guided meditation way. So on my positive vision days, we do a very impactful meditation, which is about visualizing your 80th birthday, and you travel along your timeline to your and meet your future self as an 80-year-old. And that is always very powerful for people to experience that. So usually using it to help transport people to a slightly altered state so that they can access more creativity, more resourcefulness, more emotional range than when they're all, agitated and stressed up, or in a perspective of just, no perspective, no, more stressed. And also to give us practices to help with self-compassion, particularly.
Yeah, it's a very transformative way to imagine your 80-year-old self, and that also explains the time is very relevant, right? When you are at whatever age you are now, and you're expecting you to be 80, and change the perspective is very powerful.
Seda,
Yes.
could I just add something to what Fiona was saying? Fiona does the grounding at the start of our Tuesday morning writing sessions. And I have to say that they are the most exquisite centerings that I've ever experienced. Every Tuesday morning, she just finds something magical. It's always a different image or a different message. It's almost like she's whispering into our ears every Tuesday morning. And I've been trying to encourage Fiona to package these because they are so wonderful and they have such an impact. I think it's what creates a very different space in that writing group every Tuesday morning. Just from the start, when Fiona does those groundings, it opens up the space in such a wonderful way. I can't commend the work that she does in that space. It's just wonderful.
How lucky all these ladies, or are they all ladies in this Tuesday mornings? I'm not sure, but how lucky all these people are starting their Tuesday mornings.
And I guess we can't underestimate the impact that being mindful in that way has to how you are feeling. So you can wake up and just be, all over the place, a bit like how leaders are, where they're just kind of moving from one meeting to a next meeting. And it's like, how do we ground them? How do we help them to center and be really, really present? Because so much of leadership is about your relational presence. And in a busy, hectic world, we're losing such a connection to this. So I think this is a core practice that Fiona is doing in terms of the mindfulness that she is both teaching and sharing with us.
Yes. So my next question is to you, Jackie. How do you ensure that your clients are able to maintain their creative capacity and output?
Well, I think that question, I have to go back to the beginning. And I often arrive in a coaching session as an empty vessel. I don't know what the person's going to bring. I don't know what particular theme or topic we might be working on. And I give an example of that in that I work on an on-demand coaching service for GPs. And obviously, it's a really stressful environment that they're working in. And yet I have so many conversations with many of the GPs that I get to work with around their creativity. So I have to be really curious. I have to listen into those in between spaces between what they're saying and what they're not saying. Because in that curiosity, I'm leaning in to listening to what really sparks their interest. So when someone in the middle of a very difficult situation said to me, and I stepped out into my garden, there was my doorway. It was by just leaning in and hearing the word garden that we then explored what she got from being in her garden. And then I discovered the plants in her garden and her relationship with her plants and the glass house that she had in her garden. And it was that place, just really taking that place in nature, what it meant to her, that we were able to explore how the garden resourced her. And that was where her creativity flourished. All those other difficulties that were happening at home, in her family life, the stresses in her work, all of that was made better when she gave herself time to step that threshold from inside the house, stepping into the garden and stepping into that threshold of the glass house. Now, I can't have a recipe book for all of that. I have to listen. I have to wait and I have to see what unfolds in the space. And very often, the coachee will tell you what they need. And my job is to catch it and hold it for a minute and then mirror it back to them. And that is the most powerful thing that we can do, because then people are taking ownership of their own answers, their own solutions, things that they know but they may have just forgotten about, or they've not absorbed it as much. And the coach really works in partnership with helping people to name the outlet or the thing that creatively lights them up. And it's different for everybody. For somebody it might be going out dancing or listening to music. It's different for every single person. So my job is to help people connect in to where is it that they get resourced creatively, and how can they bring that back more into the center of their world so that they can resource themselves and then allow them to be even more resourceful in the work that they do. So
So you
hopefully,
use, yeah, you use the garden as a metaphor. Not everyone has a house or a garden, but you also take this safe space, shift it to a dancing, whatever they have that as a
yeah.
safe space, and make them into that safe space, then start to flourish from there. It's awesome. I like that idea. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, my next question is to Fiona. You focus on your clients' strengths rather than their weaknesses. Please tell us about these more. Why is it important to focus on strengths?
Ah, strengths. Well, strengths is a huge pillar of positive psychology. I'm sure you're aware, but essentially, it's what I think first attracted me to positive psychology was this whole concept of let's look at what people are doing well rather than what's wrong with them. And at the heart of that is, well, what are your strengths? What are your signature strengths? What really makes you fly and unique? So really working with a client and helping them to get connected to their strengths, understand what they are, being able to talk about them, articulate them, and then to use them. There's a huge body of work in positive psychology which shows it increases people's happiness, their well-being, their productivity, and actually their health as well. So we know that by helping people sort of turn the dial up on their strengths really makes a difference, and that again increases that level of that sort of upward, what I call the upward spiral starting, which helps them to be more resourceful, have more ideas, have more confidence, try new things. And so it really is a bedrock of what works really, really well in positive coaching, positive psychology coaching.
Yes, I just heard this analogy about sales. The
Yes.
strengths are the sail, and the weaknesses are the holes on the ground. You care about the weaknesses, the holes that you don't. If you don't, you're you know drown. But it's about
Yeah.
the sail that take you forward. So it's a very good analogy. I like
I
that very
love
much.
that metaphor. Yeah, you need to, especially a leader, needs to plug the holes that are their weaknesses. You can't ignore them. And one of the criticisms leveraged as psychology, it's too happy clappy or over optimistic. You have to get those plugged either by improving your own competences or getting people around you to support you with that. And then it is the sales are your strengths, which sends you off, and that's where you will make your mark in the world. And so getting those really sort of up and running, especially with women find it extremely hard to find the language to talk about their strengths because they think it sounds boastful or showing off. So actually working with evidence-based frameworks or psychometric profiles that give them their strengths is very helpful because it's a shared language, a borrowed language, and a lexicon that really can support them presenting themselves better in the workplace.
Yeah, and also you can pair up with the people who has the strengths, whereas you have the weaknesses. Like if you are weak at showing off, like advertising your work, you can find a partner who can do this for you. So you can, make it powerful connections together and
Yes,
using your both strengths instead of focusing on weaknesses.
yes, yeah.
Thank
So
you.
it's a rich way of working with clients and leaders.
Yes, yes. And Jackie, what methods do you use build confidence in your clients?
I think this is a really interesting question. I would say that most people that I am given the honor of sitting in front of as a coach, at some level, they're going to have a conversation with me about their confidence. No matter how successful they are, no matter where they are in their organization, whether they're senior, whether they're a middle manager, whether they're an emerging leader, that seems to be the number one thing that most people say they want to talk about with a coach. And I found that really interesting. When Fiona was talking, I was kind of nodding my head and thinking about the amount of times people are doing really, really good things. So, positive psychology, as Fiona was saying, focuses a lot around really giving that energy and that focus to our strengths because we know from the evidence base that we do so much better when we focus on our strengths rather than areas of development and weaknesses. And there are ways that you can really manage and support yourself to get other people, as Fiona was saying, to 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 be the ones that do some of those things that you perhaps aren't are so good at. But what's interesting for me is that most people are hardwired to look for the negative. And it is really hard to get us to absorb and really own the positives, those strengths. People say them almost as if they're paper throwaway cups. They've done something fantastic. Oh no, that doesn't mean that's nothing much. This was the thing that I didn't do. In this great achievement, I miss this one thing. So, what I find that my job is, and it was interesting that this was one of the things that one of the leaders on the program that we finished today said. She said one of the things that she is taken away from this leadership program was that she has really understood for the first time the difference between self esteem and self confidence. And what she said for her, self confidence is it's like the weather. Sometimes it's sunny, sometimes it's good, Other times it's really jittery, really cloudy, really rocky, really shaky. Whereas self esteem is like a strong tree that's planted inside of you, it's got roots. And it doesn't matter what is happening externally, your self esteem is strong enough, it's good enough to allow you to weather whatever comes your way. So for me, the work that I find myself doing with leaders is really about nurturing, nourishing, feeding, sourcing, resourcing the self esteem so that they can have stronger language, more ownership, more authorship of themselves, so that confidence becomes something that is innate, something that is natural, something that they really own with humility. And we're not constantly, I think that's where we lose a lot of our strength, a lot of our power, because we're constantly trying to fill up those areas that we think we need to get better at, and we're not really owning the things. And one of the things I said to myself when I was thinking about this question was, well, actually, one of the things that I get leaders to do is to tell me their stories of where they have been powerful. Yeah, so I've had one leader in a group, for example, let slip that they were an Olympic swimmer. Hello. Well, you didn't say that in your introduction. You didn't tell us about that in your life story. And then we started to kind of just highlight all of the strengths that they got from that one achievement and how they could transfer that back into their role as a leader. In fact, it wasn't about how they transfer it back in, it was how they have used those skills already as a leader, and another she was a practice manager I was coaching. She shared in the third session that she had completed Ironman. Well, I nearly fell off my chair. And then, that gave me another doorway to really go in and explore, well, what did that take? What do we know you definitely have got in your backpack that actually sometimes we need to unpack? Because it's when I come back from a course or a training or traveling, the first thing I do now is unpack my suitcase because I want to see what's in there. I want to see what I need to sort out, and I want to see what I still need and I want to use. And I think a lot of us aren't unpacking our backpack, and that's the kind of way that I bring myself to talk about confidence and work with confidence in the coaching space in a really practical, wholehearted way that, you know, is different for everyone, but is actually working towards that goal of wholeness.
A lot of people don't think the things that they do in their free time related to their work life also.
And
Yeah.
that's where you find out some gems about people. You find
Yes.
out things that they have done or that they're doing or that they have been, previous lives. We have so many iterations of our lives now.
Yeah.
People have gone from one career to another, from one profession to another. We can't assume that who's in front of us is who we think they are because there have been so many different things
Yes,
about
I'm so glad that LinkedIn or other HR organizations put this mother leave time to the context that there were nothing like that before on the CVs. Like you're a mother. As a mother, you have a lot of strengths. You choose to stay with your kids to look after them until they get to certain age. Then you get back to your career. But that 6 year, 4 year, whatever the years that you choose to live with your kids were a lack of time before. Now it is recognized. I'm so glad that they put it into account.
Mm. As mothers, I'm just thinking, Fiona and I often talk about being mothers and having children. You know, I've got one daughter, Fiona's got two children, and I think motherhood has been the place where I've learned more that has impacted my leadership than anywhere else. Because I think when I think about my daughter, I think that actually the compassion that I will often have and I bring into my work as a coach, I've learned that through motherhood.
Mm.
So that's the place. I don't know about you, Fee. How does that translate for you?
Yeah, I think it's true, and I think it really helps with perspective as well.
Yeah.
Helps you to keep a wider perspective about life and work and its place within it. I think
Yes.
is really important. I mean, I probably learnt my best work around boundaries. You know, I'm still still work in progress, for God's sake. Let's be honest, but it's
I'm with you.
learning to put some boundaries in place because of sort of having to as a mother and as a leader was and then setting up my own business. It was really important. So that really helped.
Yes, it also forces us to find ourselves as authentic as we are, to be able to stay with them more. We find creative ways to establish our own jobs, right? Like working from home, writing, creating. It's
Yeah.
Yes,
amazing how it's powerful.
yes.
Yes. My next question is to you both. What do you focus more to help clients achieve their personal and professional goals? You can talk about your niche areas, like talking about the nature and everything that you are using as a tool.
Fiona?
Do you mean just to clarify, Seda? Do you mean what do we use most to help them? Yeah.
Yes.
So I think for me, what came out of my when I did the masters in positive psychology, which is now 15 years ago. So, but out of my thesis came this idea of really helping people with well, the scientific side of it is called meaningful goal setting, but I call it visioning and positive vision day. And this idea of taking people into a beautiful setting away from the office and having like an executive day retreat where they get a chance to step back from day-to-day wrangling in the office and really get an opportunity to create a sense of a vision for the next stage of their life and career in the round. Like we're talking about, are they a mother, have they got issues going on at home or with their health, or as well as that what they want to bring into their leadership and their impact into their communities.
Yeah.
And that using the beautiful setting, using the power of nature, using the time away, extending the coaching time to, like you said in the intro, a 6-hour session has some pre-work and a follow-up. But that seems to deliver a level of impact, shall we say, that stays in the bones for much, much longer, years, decades than just a 2-hour session, in the middle of a busy day. So that has been an increasing part of my work, and I now won't do a coaching program without a vision day within it.
Yes. Wow. Thank you so much. Jackie?
I have actually experienced a vision day with Fiona, so I can testify to this. Um, Having done it, and I can still remember certain trees that I had stood by, where I sat when I did the 80-year-old visualization, what it felt like in my body. And we know from the evidence base around nature what nature does to us. Even looking at the color green makes us feel better. It impacts our nervous system. So, going out into nature and doing the kind of coaching, helping people to focus on their goals in that way is very much an embodied experience.
Mm.
And I would say for me, given that the majority of my coaching, one-to-one coaching, happens to be online or on the telephone, I know the number one thing that makes a difference to helping people focus on their goals in the space of a one-to-one conversation for me is getting people to write things down. and write about their feelings and their emotions. It's almost as if it's like being in a submarine. You go from the surface of your life, your everyday existence, and in that quiet space of just creating that container of silence between you and the coachee, and them just taking their pen and a piece of paper and writing a letter to themselves, or writing how they're feeling in this moment, or writing about what they think they could do. It changes, it shifts, and it creates a space of transformation where I think what happens is we quiet the mind a lot more, and people begin to access their own inner wisdom and their own inner authority. I had a GP who no, sorry. I had she was a director of a wellness organization, and she was having a real culture change in the organization, with some change at the top level of the organization, which was really impacting her in terms of the stress and also managing the staff's stress around it. And I remember the very first session, she was all this stuff was just tumbling out. There were so many different places we could have gone to in the coaching. And I wanted to find a way to help her to calm down, and also to create a space for her to be more resourceful. And so what she did was she wrote a letter to herself, from her wise woman. And she was very reluctant, I must say, to do this letter, but she kind of was half looking at me through one eye, like, well, okay, let's just see where this is going to go. But I just trusted my intuition, and I've got quite a lot of evidence base around it, having done it before. And I think after about, I think I set it for 7 minutes. She was still writing. I was just on the other end of the Zoom camera. And I said, well, 7 minutes up. I just need a couple more minutes. And when she came up, it's almost like her face had changed. There was something that had shifted inside of her. And we continued doing some of that letter writing. And have I lost everybody? I wonder if I've just fallen off. Let's see if I can get back on. I think I just fell off there. Did I just fall off there?
No, 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 no. My colleague just put one by one each of us to the
Oh, right.
screen.
Okay.
Yeah.
No worries. I'll just bring this to a close. At the end of the coaching, I said to her, what was the most impactful thing around the coach? She said, Jackie, the letter writing. I did it in between the sessions when I weren't seeing you, getting stressed. I just get my notebook out and I'd write a letter to myself. And I thought, there you go. And sometimes the thing that is the most resistant, or even the coachee or myself, I find myself, the things I'm most resistant to can be the things that have the most answers or solutions for me. Yeah, so I trust that. I trust that in the space.
Beautiful. Like Fiona using nature
Yeah.
to activate all senses, like a manifestation with all senses, and you are activating it by writing. It's very powerful. I would like
Thank
to
you.
experience that myself too. My next question, please tell us more about the journaling group that you co-created, and how did you first start this, and what kind of inspirations the members get out of it?
Oh, I think you've got to start on this one, Fee.
Well, I mean, Jackie and I have worked together and been friends for over 20 years. And
Wow.
she first helped me with my first book in terms of as a writing coach. And I mean, Jackie deserves an OBE for the amount of books she has midwifed and brought into this world. It's
Wow.
incredible. And so we've stayed in touch because we both found out we had this complete passion and commitment to journaling, which we had both done all our lives, and it had played a very big role in both of our lives. And during lockdown, we found we were talking over lockdown and staying connected. And we just came up with this idea that it would be wonderful to have a connected space to do some journaling when nobody could meet, nobody could go to writing retreats, nobody could, everyone was going through quite difficult and different things. So we came up with this idea that we would start on a Tuesday morning and just, we have a very light touch. We do the centering as we discussed, and Jackie always has a brilliant prompt,
I'm,
sharing some
s- I'm
poetry.
sorry, Jackie. Something is coming out of your microphone, or
Is that better?
yes.
Yes,
Great.
yeah.
Sorry about that, Fiona.
Yes, okay. And Jackie always comes up with a brilliant prompt, an amazing poem or piece of writing that she's found or that she's written herself. And we write and we start the process going with a sort of 7 minutes free writing exercise. And then we invite everyone to work in silence on their projects, on their creative projects. So it is just for women, and then we come together at the end for sharing, and people share a combination of just how they've experienced writing that morning or sharing some of their work. And it's been incredibly inspiring because it helps women carve out some time to start their day with, in touch with their creativity, whatever form that takes. I mean, some people are writing memoirs, some people books, some people just a coaching report, or or journaling. There's no judgment about what's being written. It's just allows people to feel this energetic connection, this solidarity of women, and yet you're in
Yeah.
silence in the comfort of your own kitchen, or with your own cup of tea and a piece of toast. And we always say, come as you are, come in your pajamas if you want, or come lying in bed. And people do sometimes. People
I have
do.
got envy, dressing gown envy from that last space. I'm like, I haven't got a good enough dressing gown because there've been some amazing. Yeah, it's a space where women get to be themselves, don't they?
Yeah.
It's amazing when you just trust your spirit and trust your
Mm,
gut. And I guess a lot of the work that Fiona and myself and other coaches are doing is really helping people to find their voice in the
mm,
world, in their leadership. And I was thinking about some words that I would use to describe the co-writing space. I think it's a space where women get witnessed, they get
yeah.
really, really seen, they get really, really heard. It's a small enough group, so we're at the biggest. I think we're around 35 to
Yeah.
40, but like we've got a constant regular core group of 20 to 25 women that show up every Tuesday morning. And I think that really holds the container of it not being too big, that we know every woman by name. And women can come, we had someone from Mexico this week. We had
Wow.
somebody from Japan. We've had women from all over the world join the group. And I think it is a space where women are given permission to either do very deep work, yeah, or they can do shallow work, which creates space for them to then do deep work. Do you know what I mean? As Fiona says, anything is given, anything is okay in this space. And there has been a sisterhood that has really grown and flourished and has taken root in this space. To be honest, I don't even know what all of the women do for their day jobs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Some of them they've been with us for 3 years, and I actually don't know what they go off and do for their day job. But I know their spirit, and I know the energy, and I know the medicine that they have brought into that space. And I think there is something very, very healing about writing in community.
Mm,
Community is healing. We know this. We know this from lockdown. We know from the things that are helping sustain people, support people, that community is very resourcing. And I think that's what we've created here. And it's very self serving. So when Fiona, our schedules don't allow us to be there, other women step in, and they do.
Cool.
And I think that is really telling what we've created there. And I absolutely love showing up every Tuesday morning with Fiona. It's my favorite time of the week. It's just lovely. And both of us say we don't do any sweating. There's no sweat. It doesn't feel like hard work, but
It
we are
feels
service.
joyful, really
I think that's a
joyful.
great word, doesn't it, Fee?
Yeah, yeah, always.
And
Yeah.
is it open to newcomers, new writers?
Oh,
How
yeah.
does it work? The application? How the people can find this group to apply?
It's on
Oh,
Eventbrite, and anyone can go as long as you sign up and as long as you identify as female, as woman. We welcome everybody, and as Jackie says, it's not just in the UK. I mean, we run it from 7 a.m. to 8:30 in the UK because that is in my mind, it's a great way to start a day. But obviously, for some people, we have someone that comes each week from India, from Greece. It's very different times of day in these different places. But it's just that hour and a half of real solidarity and support for one another, whilst connecting in with yourself and giving yourself the time and space.
and what is the topic of this event in Eventbrite?
Co-writing group.
Co-writing
Yeah.
group. Okay,
Women
We
thank
are
you.
thinking of changing the name, but we're getting there, aren't we? We've got few things in the bag, yeah, that have been coming through. So it will eventually change, but it's the co-writing group, women's co-writing
Women's
group.
co-writing group.
Okay, thank you so much. So this is my last question. I want to ask a bit about your books. You both have your own coaching books. How did this writing journey start? And what are the insights for each book with few sentences, please?
You
You
can go.
go, Jackie. You've written
Well,
more.
well, do you want to know about the coaching books or the writing books? Should
All
I
the
just?
books. Yeah, you
Oh,
can
right.
talk
Okay.
about.
Okay. So, um, in terms of coaching, my first coaching book was Be Your Own Best Life Coach, which has got 52 coaching tips. I still rate that book actually. It's still being sold. They did do an audio, but they didn't bother to ask me. They asked somebody else to do the audio, which I found out by default, which I was
Wow.
quite like, oh, hello. And so many people have said to me, I would love to hear you reading your books. And maybe that's something I've been meaning to go back to the publishers and have a little word with them about that. But that's a great book. I think I wrote that book in 2011, but it still holds really well now in terms of the coaching tips and tools that are in there. It's a really great little resource if you want a book that's kind of self-coachy for yourself, or if you're a new beginning coach, it's a really good resource. And then that was followed by 49 Ways to Write Yourself Well, which is my way of sharing a lot of the evidence base around journaling, reflective writing, expressive writing, lots of different exercising. It brings in lots of coaching tools, but helps people to use those coaching tools through writing. It's got some very unique exercises. My writing tool, Writing the Labyrinth, has been translated and included in a number of anthologies. It seems to be a creative writing tool that people really, really like, and it's really making a difference for people. And just a couple of other things that I've kind of gone into partnership with other people. I've done two creative illustrated writing maps, which are introducing 12 nature-based and tree-based inspired writing prompts that you can just tuck into your bag, tuck into a notebook, take with you out onto a green space, and you can just use some of those prompts to do a bit of journaling and reflection, along with a self-published, as you mentioned earlier, the Inner and Outer Nature Self-Discovery Deck, which has got 49 journaling prompts inspired by nature. So I guess that's the way I bring my creativity out, and I share some of those resources, which I think can help people to think differently and to gain different perspectives around some of the challenges that they might be experiencing, as well as their health and well-being.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And
Yeah.
for me, so the first book I wrote, which was 20 years ago, with the help of Jackie, helping me sort of get me through points where I was stuck, and to say what I want to say, was called The Balancing Act. And it was very much geared to busy executives and busy people trying to get some more work-life balance in their lives. Now, that was written in 2003. So that was before Facebook even existed. So whilst the principles still hold, people have obviously had to deal with a lot more pressure on their time now, than ever before. But essentially, it was a self-help book, written at that point, and it's a theme I have threading through my coaching the whole time, about how you make your leadership sustainable and how you keep that balance and enough energy for the other aspects of your life. And make sure that you bring that into your leadership as well. And then the book I wrote, which started again another lockdown project, was the Beautiful Way to Coach book, which is really aimed at coaches to share with them the Positive Vision Day methodology. The idea that, actually you pick up this book, and it's a handbook for how you can integrate Positive Vision Days into your practice. Even if you don't come and have the certification, that there's enough information in that. And a lot of people just say, it's the basic concept of being given permission. Oh, can I really coach outside? Or can I really tell someone that a coaching session is going to last 6 hours? Or can I really structure all these things together and work one-on-one in this way? And so I think it's quite a permission-giving book. And the thing that comes out of it, and the reason I called it A Beautiful Way to Coach, is we know the clients get a lot of impact from it, but what we've found over the last 15 years is coaches love working in this way. It's very energizing for a coach to work in this way, to be in a beautiful setting, to take their clients out into nature, to do this deep transformational work. And that is exciting because it energizes their and invigorates and innovates their own coaching practice.
Well, as a morning walker and a coach myself, I am so glad, so grateful for you both here today, taking your time with us, and giving your insightful thoughts around these questions that I was curious about. I am sure our audience also liked it. And for watching it, the audience can subscribe to our channel on both YouTube and LinkedIn. And for another guest, we are waiting for you to, like us, comment under our videos, share these videos with your network. So we will grow together and flourish together. Thank you so much, Fiona, and thank you, Jackie, for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having us, Seda.
Yeah,
You're
thank you.
great. I loved your questions.
I am so glad that you like them and hope to be together in another projects. I am expecting you to write for our magazine also, maybe in the future issues. Thank you so much. Have a lovely
Thank
night.
you. Take care. Bye.
Take care. Bye.